Hello, hello, hello to our special guests. And hello to everybody out there in Facebook land. We are so excited to come to you live, not for one, not even for two, but for three Facebook Lives over the next 3 days. And super excited to have you here. So for all of you joining, if you don't know me, my name is Barb Moses, and I am the CEO for High Five Leadership. And I am joined tonight with three very special people, special to me in my life, and soon to be special to you for what they have put together for you. And so I introduce to you tonight Rachel, Jen, and James, and they friends of High Five, and they were recently impacted during this COVID-19 time that we are in, and were laid off from their jobs. Like many of you likely tuning in, and like so many out there. And whether it's getting laid off, getting furloughed, taking a reduction in salary, we have all in some way been impacted by the crisis that we're going through. And you know, after these guys, because they're friends, because I absolutely love them, and after they got laid off, I was like, what do I do to start to help? And then I realized, right, how big this is reaching. And what I love about the three individuals on this Facebook Live with me is they all practice what High Five teaches, which is anytime negative shows up, positive's available. And that there is always a positive, even when it really is hard and when it hurts. And so I reached out to them and asked, it's like, hey, what do you think about doing some Facebook Lives? And then it turned into this phenomenal resource guide that they put together for the High Five community. And they're here tonight to talk about their experience and what are the things that work for them. And like I said, it's 3 parts. So tonight is emotional support. So we're going to talk all about the emotional side of going through a crisis. And this applies to everybody, no matter what your situation, we are all in this together. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about maximizing your money, right? So there are some times where we got to tighten things up a little bit. And what are the ways that we can maximize the money that we do have so it goes further when we need it to? And then on Friday night, we're going to talk specifically about job prep. So if you have gotten laid off and it's time to find a new job, what are some things that you can do to make that happen? And so that's how this is all going to roll out. The first thing that I want to say, though, because it's just always so important to me, even in a time like this, where this is happening right all around us, it can still feel really personal to lose your job. And I think it's important for us to remember and remind everybody, COVID isn't your fault. And this is just something that businesses are doing to stay viable during this time. So it's not your fault. And now, though, it's about what can we do from an emotional support perspective. All right, so with that, I'm gonna actually open up to these guys to talk about, from an emotional support perspective, what are the things that you've done to shore yourself up or to go get the help that you've needed. So Jen, we're going to start with you tonight. So you want to share a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So the first thing that I did was I rewrote my 30-day story immediately. I wrote it with a new positive outcome because I knew the situation that happened that day. I knew that it wasn't my fault. I knew that it wasn't me per se as a what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't because of what I was doing at work. I knew that I was doing my job and I was doing it really, really well. So I knew it wasn't my performance. I knew it wasn't my performance at work. Did it sting still? Absolutely. But immediately what I did is I just wrote a 30-day story over with a positive outcome and a new positive outcome. And then I also, here's a little shameless plug, had a coaching session with Kevin. Literally 2 hours after that happened, I had a coaching session with Kevin so that he can help me with the tools that he's instilled in me and what High Five has done, to help me reframe and continue on that positive kick because of the situation that happened. And I knew it wasn't my fault, but it's always hard to immediately reframe and think of positivity after that situation. So I immediately had a coaching session with Kevin also, which by far was the best thing that I could have done for myself, because then I went back and tweaked my 30-day story a little bit more, because he also helped open my eyes and take it from a different approach and look at it in a different way, so that I can continue on that path. Another thing I did is we sat down and we told the girls that night at dinner what was going on in the new situation. And we really gave the floor to them and really listened to what they had to say and what they wanted. You know, I asked them, hey, do you guys want mom to go back to work? Or what are you thinking? How are you feeling? And the things. And so, you know, it was vulnerable for them to be able to tell me in all transparency what they wanted. And then I felt vulnerable in that time and courageous to just sit and actually listen to my children's words of what they really wanted. And they don't want me to go back to work. They've loved having mom at home. They've loved having mom be their principal. That's what they call me now. So when Casey goes to work, he's like, be nice to the teacher today. And they're like, but the principal's so awesome. So that's really nice. And then a really big thing that's helped with this emotionally is just getting out and moving our bodies and going for a walk and putting the phones down and turning the TVs off, and just connecting as humans, as family, right? Like no technology, just, we put together a couple puzzles, which was super fun. And we go for a 3-mile walk every single day. We get out and they put it on there. They got to make their curriculum list, what they do every day. And on there for gym class, they say, go for a 45-minute walk with mom. So to get out, to move your body, to think and to stop and just smell the roses, because this isn't our fault. And there's other ways that we can get support, like connecting with other people and doing Zooms and Facebook Lives and whatnot. That's what I did immediately. I know these guys did other things, so I'm going to open the floor to them, and let one of them talk for right now.
Great. And before you do that, Jen, how old are your girls?
My girls are 8 3/4 and 10. So Haley will be 9 in May, at the end of May. So
and the reason that I asked that is, it's okay to have those real conversations with kids that age.
Yeah.
They can handle it, and it is vulnerable for them and it is vulnerable for you. And as a result, though, you just create a stronger bond. So that communications is awesome. Thank you. That was awesome. All right. Who's going next? James, you going next?
I will, yeah.
Awesome.
So, hi, everybody. My name is James Bishop. And just, again, for age, I guess, I'm 41. I turned 42 in May. How about you? So 42
babe is what you are.
Yeah, 42 is kind of awesome for me because I get to turn 21 for the second time. So, so some of my emotional support that I want to share has to do with something that I've learned the difficult way. And that is to be loved wherever you go, you must love whomever you meet. And I've had the great pleasure of that lesson being taught to me years ago, so that everywhere I go, anyone that I get to meet and work with or hang out with, I have this love for that person, where years ago, I never would have told anyone outside of my immediate family that I loved them, because I felt that was just too pure an emotion. And what I learned was I was really holding a lot of love back and not getting a lot of love in return for that. And so everywhere I go, being able to on team with High Five, I didn't want to pass that up. And so when I got there, one of the first things that High Five did was welcome me as if though I had already been on the team. And so I come in and I'm like, okay, well, I got love. I'm getting love back. I'm going to give it just like I'm getting it. And the whole time, it was just an awesome ordeal, because I got to be myself, and they loved me through me, and I didn't have to change me. And so I got to do the same. And I do that every time I go to work. When Jen and Rachel, anytime I come in the office, it's take a time to say hi. How are you doing? Do you need anything from me? Here's what I'm here for. Here's what I've done, because it may relate to you and what you do. And just making sure, again, that little life lesson of, in order to be loved wherever I go, I have to be focused on making sure that I'm loving those that I meet. And after the first meeting, it's all the time. And all of those trust deposits, I don't really pull a withdrawal on that trust until I need it. And man, did I need it this last week, right? And so when I got the news, man, it was terrible. I've been a supervisor of people, and it's difficult to deliver messages that they were asked to deliver. And to receive it, it's just as difficult. So I had to love myself through it. And I got to reach out to those people hours, days later, and just share the grateful attitude that I have towards them, knowing how difficult that was. But out of all the classes, because I was a trainer, right? I've loved so many people through their opportunities, and they've been so grateful. And so one of the first things I did was post on Facebook that here's the fact. Here's what happened. I was impacted not by my company, but by some COVID-19 that I'm just now learning about. And, this is what I'm dealing with. I would be grateful if anybody had an opening or knew of an opening, made it short, made it sweet. And you know what I got in return? It wasn't any job openings. What I got was what I needed most, and that was the love, the withdrawal that I needed. And so I'm very appreciative of you, Barb, for allowing me to come online and share what it was that I was able to do with so many people, and to be vulnerable here, but also just to be excited, because guess what? Today was my first day at my new job. And, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. All I know is I reached out for love. I got so much love. It was overwhelming. And I got to pour that into my first day at a new job. And man, how great does that feel, right? And so literally a week and a day after I got the news, I'm back at it, cracking whips and chasing the effort, right? Put in all that sweat equity so that whatever and wherever this takes me, I'm prepared. So in short, in order to be loved wherever you go, love whomever you meet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, James. It is. It's all about love. That's why we're on here. That's what this is about. And I love the deposits and the withdrawals, the trust deposits, the love deposits and withdrawals. And I was so proud of you, how quickly you went out and just said, and it wasn't a blaming, right? It was just like, hey, this is where it's at. Is there anybody that's got anything to help me? And you just stayed positive, and I love it. So beautiful. Oh, I love it. I love it. Awesome. Rachel, let's hear from you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Baxter. First of all, I just want to thank James and Jen for being so vulnerable. You had me tearing up over here, James. This has been, it's been a tough ride. But a lot of positives have come from it. When I talk about emotional support, this was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. But it's a blessing. It's such a blessing because I've gotten to slow down and really figure out what I want, figure out what it is I want to attract in this life, and figure out who I truly am and want to be. When this first started, when I got the call, I allowed myself to be vulnerable as I am right now. I didn't expect this. I don't think we ever do. But I let the emotions happen. It was at first I was sad, and I was so sad, and I just kept crying. And then, I got hugs from my boyfriend, John, and the assurance that it's going to be okay. And throughout this process, my entire team was laid off, and that was a big hit for me. And so I called them and provided emotional support, vice versa. They provided emotional support, knowing that they're like-minded, right? That we all choose joy, that we all choose positive. It was so reassuring in the moment when I was going through this roller coaster of emotions and vulnerability to have people there saying, hey, it's gonna be okay, right? What will be, and it's okay. And to just let me, I call it my responsible venting partner, right? RVP, let me vent, get out what I need to, and then help me reframe in the moment. And I'll tell you, I wasn't okay on day one. I wasn't. I was very sad. I was very taken aback because I loved the company that I worked for. I truly loved the people that I worked for. And I truly believed that my job allowed me to be a servant leader in all aspects. And I touched so many lives, and to have that taken away in just an instance was heartbreaking for me. Like James and Jen, like you, Barb, we're trainers, and we truly pour ourselves, I'll speak for myself, I know we pour ourselves into the teammates that we're around. And day one, I just grieved. I grieved for everything that I had lost in that moment. And then I got a little upset. I went through this little anger, like, why me? Why was I selected to be laid off? Why was my team selected? Why were my teammates selected? And then I started going through these battles of stories where all of a sudden they were spinning out of control. Well, my performance, it's not my performance. I've been rocketed, right? Well, maybe I wasn't liked by someone. Those stories started to consume me. And what I realized probably about halfway through day two was, all right, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. And I got out and I went for a walk and I got some fresh air. I took a shower. I know that sounds simple, but when I was going through this grief stage, it was real, and I wasn't taking care of me. And that new perspective, that new fresh air really, really, really helped me. Staying in contact with my former trainers and teammates really helped me. Staying in contact with High Five helped me. Refocusing that energy to positive was amazing. Barb, I'll just tell you, reaching out, just this High Five Live, right? Being able to work with you guys on this, to refocus my energy that was so sad to something positive, to something I'm like, yeah, we've got this. We can share with so many. We're not the only people going through this. Was so refreshing for me. And it allowed me to really reframe the entire situation and ask myself, what is this working to teach me? What is the benefit of this entire situation? And what I've come to terms with is I'm not alone, first of all. There's so many people going through this, right? But second, maybe I needed the break. Maybe there's a reason that I was selected. Maybe there's a reason that my energy needs to be refocused. Maybe it's a pause for the better, right? And so for me, having reframed that, later on in that week, So last Thursday or Friday, I wanted to continue to refocus that energy. And so what I did is I finally admitted it. Yeah, I was laid off due to COVID-19. I know some of my teammates were able to say it faster than I was. It was embarrassing for me. It was embarrassing that I was laid off because, again, I was battling those stories. I was battling, I wasn't good enough. Whatever that story was in that moment. And so for me to admit it and say, you know what, I still choose joy and I still choose positive in this moment was so powerful. And I've had a side hobby forever, and I posted that side hobby with it. And the outpouring of love and just support has overwhelmed me. And for me, it's refocusing all of my positive energy to provide them something that is amazing, right? Whatever their vision is, I don't know. It's all about reframing, and it takes time. It's not gonna happen. Like for me, it took almost a week, and I still have moments where I'm struggling. I still am like, oh, I get to get dressed up to go to my living room. Awesome. My boyfriend works opposite shifts of me. So literally it's me and the dogs all day. Well, I get to stay home and be with my pups, and just reframing, oh, I'm not alone. I still can do video conferences and still have happy hours and video dates with my teammates. And that has made all the difference, is connecting with others, reframing, pouring my positive energy into something else that will bring positive energy to others. And just being real with myself. If I acknowledge what's happening in the moment, I'm not happy right now. Why aren't you happy? You need to get outside. So for me, that's really where the transformation of this whole process has really helped me focus and reframe.
Gosh, Rachel, so much of all of that's so powerful. One is we are all at some level grieving because life as we knew it a month ago doesn't exist. And so we're creating that new life, right? And those stages of grief, anger is one of them. And also just to acknowledge that we all have a different path, right? As does everybody out there. I can tell you when I cratered, just totally. It was the Thursday after that first week, it just cratered. I was like, whoa. And it's just about showing up in love and loving people through their journey of this, and knowing that if we can just be there for them and help them reframe, help them see something, take what we need so that we can fill our cup up, so that then we can give it to others. So important. And the other thing that I love, that I encourage all of us to do during this time is the reflection. What is this teaching me, right? What can I learn from this? Let me slow down. I was on a meeting yesterday with a super wise person talking about this is just that opportunity, right, for the world to pause and really get real about what's important. What's really important? What's important to my kids? What's important to me? How do I serve? How do I take my energy and I pour it into whatever it is that I'm doing? Understanding that even in crisis, there is a way to live our best life. So y'all know I'm all about choosing joy. And it's so important that we talk about the fact that it's not about choosing joy when it's easy, right? We were all doing that when it was easy, and everybody can do that. And I look forward to the day when we do that again, when it's really easy. But that's not what High Five is about. That's not what this conversation about. It's about choosing joy when it's not easy. And that's the world that we're living in today. And we're going to be living in it for a little while longer. And more people are likely going to be impacted. And so it's, what can we do to first get ourselves right and then share the positive with others, because it's all a focus on what we can do, not what we can't do. And you guys are amazing. Let's see. Oh, so Kevin, thank you for that. Kevin says, if you're experiencing the shame and embarrassment, because that does happen. Oh, I know that, right? But vulnerability is the new strong. So it's when we all allowed ourselves to get vulnerable that we get the love and the support that we really need to be able to move forward, right? But we are offering free 30-minute coaching sessions to anybody for any reason to help you see the positive, help you reframe. And so all you need to do is email Kevin at high5, HIGH, the number 5, leadership.com, and we'll get you. And he put his link right on the Facebook Live. Yeah, this is real stuff. And we don't, you know, from my heart, we don't take this stuff lightly at High Five. We know how it's impacting the world. And we also know that our responsibility is to up our courage right now. It's to up our positivity. It's to double down on all of that, because falling into the fear isn't going to benefit anybody. We may have our moments. I have my moments, right? I feel like this is my life right now, ups and downs. But as long as I stay focused on a positive outcome, then I'm always going to have that peak to follow that valley. And that's what we all want for all of you out there, is find the positive, download the resource guide, use the tools. There's some apps. There's a High Five. We have our 7-day joyride, which is a great way. Do a 7-day joyride on COVID. I did my own. I needed that to find the positives in this situation. And there are so many if we look for them. But if all that gets our attention is all of the bad news, it's not so great. So
To piggyback off of that,
yeah.
I also, because the reason why I rewrote my story so quickly is that first day, right? Like, I let myself feel the feels. I cried all day. The girls knew what was going on. You know, my husband works for the same company. I'm blessed that he is still working, and that, holy moly, because that would have been a whole nother
level.
Yep, that would have been a whole nother level of emotion. But I rewrote it so quickly to remember the positive and to always focus on the positive, because behavior is observable, right? So how can I show my 8 and 9-year-old how to come about through a crisis like this that happens to our nation and come out to it positively, instead of playing the blame game all the time, right? Well, if it wasn't for this, then, oh, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have been laid off. Okay, well, guess what? That happened. So now, how do we move forward? How do we continue putting one foot in front of the other? So that was my main focus of rewriting my 30-day outcome. That was me taking responsibility for my actions personally and being responsible for how I acted during this crisis in front of my girls. Because this has happened before. A crisis like this has happened in our nation before. And I want my girls to know that when it happens again, because more than likely a crisis will happen again, I want them to know that deep down inside that they can get through it in a positive way and keep moving forward and not go into the dump hole of darkness, right? Like, depression's real. The blame game is real. And in our society nowadays, it's so hard to reframe sometimes, right? For ourselves or for anybody until you get the tools. That's why I said I literally had a coaching session with Kevin 2 hours after this incident happened, because the tools that he gives me and High Five gives me and my friends and my leaders. I mean, you know, Rachel was my leader. And she very much so was a servant leader in my eyes, and she still is. I still text her nowadays and I'm like, hey, I don't know how to, and she'll still lead me in the right direction, right? And we're friends, and so I get to vent to her and she gets to vent to me, and then all the things. So behavior is observable no matter where you go. If you lost everything, you got furloughed, you got laid off, okay, feel the feels, that's natural, do that, but also show up, because how you show up in this type of a crisis is vital, right? Like I have so many people that will text me or comment on my posts on Facebook, because I'll post a motivational post every single day, and that's me, right? Like I have the hashtag drinking the juice of joy, and it's not wine. It's really just getting in as much joy as I can, because I feel like if you can, my word for 2020 is inspire, right? So I inspire to serve, I inspire to just shoot rainbows everywhere like a Care Bear. And if I can make one person's frown turn upside down and that chain effect keep going, I'm grateful for that, because that's what I am. So I show up for my girls and show them how to continuously look at the positivity. Is there ups and downs? Absolutely. It's an emotional roller coaster right now. But at the end of the day, it's still positivity, because what I'm doing is what they're going to be doing. So if I can stay positive and on the right track with loved ones and friends and, you know, Barb and High Five and Kevin and just everybody, then that's perfect. That's how I'm.
You know, and I love that, Jen, because I feel like it is such a pivotal time for us to really teach our kids how to be resilient.
Yeah.
We get a chance to really lead them, because we can't just protect them from this, right? It's impacting them as well. And so we got to have the real conversations. And James, I loved, right, the time you spent with your son, teaching him things that you clearly hadn't done. You want to talk about that real quick? And then I've got a few Facebook things I want to address too.
There's so many things. Was there one specific that I shared with you recently?
Oh, I was just about him helping you with yard work the other day. I thought.
Oh yeah. So he's 10. I don't know if it's late or earlier or whatever, but I decided he was going to learn how to learn about hard work, right? So he's going to experience a little bit of hard work. And so I got him out there and I cranked up, showed him how to start a weed eater, gas powered, and let him hold it. And he chewed up one of the fence panelings. And I was just like,
I've done that.
yeah. So it was neat. And then you can kind of tell how quick it wore on him. He's like, this isn't fun anymore. Like, it was really cool because I've never done this before. And now it's not so cool because my hands are red and vibrating. I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's push a mower. Oh, hell, I can push a mower. So he gets out here, he pushes a mower, he gets 3 or 4 runs in. And he's like, this isn't as fun as it looked, Dad. And so he's showing me his hands and he's like, can I go in? I'm like, yeah, you can go in and get some water. But you're going to come right back out here and we're going to work hard. Remember, today we're learning about hard work. He didn't complain one time. He didn't even go in. I said, what I need you to do when you come back in, if you choose to do so and get your water, come out here. And really the one thing that of the 3 things we're doing is pulling weeds by hand. So just the whole front landscaping, anything that's green in there outside of a big bush, if it's something as big as you, don't pull it. But if it's smaller, pull it. And so he filled a quarter to a half full of one of those trash bins that the cities, they leave to pick up. He filled that thing about a quarter to a halfway full and didn't complain once. I mean, he made it fun. And I learned from him all the time. Just like when, really one of the first lessons I got from Jude was he's a picky eater, didn't like to eat. And so I was thinking to myself, how do I get a kid that won't eat to eat? And so I learned that if I get him involved in the making of the meal process, he now has buy-in. It's not something that really has to be done. He chose to do it because I made it fun to invite him. But once he got going, he was bought into the process. And by that time, when his task got done, he went up to the next level for ownership. And he just decided he was going to set the table. I didn't even ask him or bring it up. He just knew because of how many times he's eaten. And so to see a 2 or 3 year old kid get that excited and start, and I'm just like, I'm taking notes. I'm like, man, this is good stuff. So I love Jude to death, all of my heart. Everything that Jen just said, that is so true. Everything that they observe, and when things around us are in crisis, one of the best things that I've been able to do is, in order for things to stay calm, I must remain calm myself. And so if I stay calm, everything else will be calm. And it took me a week, to get to my main objective. But as long as I stayed calm, everything else that I touched, did, thought, whatever, and Jude observed and whoever else was calm. And that is so awesome because it gave me the moment to do what my peers here and you have said, and that is to go through the emotions, let them take over you for a minute and then let them go. But then to what you're doing here, you're keeping us on task. You're giving us something to do. Sitting on a couch or a recliner or in the house doing not much ain't going to really give you something productive, something to keep focus on the positive. And so being tasked with things, even if it's something like the 7-day joyride. I mean, I've never been on one of those and I did it, and I wasn't as involved in it as I wished. So I'm looking to do the next one. Because yes, it was tough to choose joy and to make it, but that 7-day joyride, just for the portions that I was able to attend and go through, really set me up to have a calm storm, to be the eye of the storm. And so the next one that comes around, whenever that is, I'm on it and I'm gonna play full out. I'm not gonna hold back.
Well, so just so you know, you can do one anytime. We'll have another community. You're talking about the community one that we all did together.
Yeah.
We're going to do another one of those probably in about 6 weeks or so. But you can do a joyride anytime. You just have to go to our website and you can sign up right there.
Nice.
I want to address a couple of things that were on Facebook. So Patty said, I feel like we will never return to that old life and that feels scary. Whew, get that, right? And that's really what we were talking about in the grieving, because we aren't. And I think the best thing is just, okay, that was the past and I get it. And it's hard to leave that comfort zone, but what will you create moving forward? And how do we create something even better? Because as long as we hold on to the past, we don't even create the possibility that the future can be even better. And so I feel it. I do feel it. Kim said, oh, I get caught up in the emotions and sometimes have a hard time accessing my tools. Yes. And that's why we have each other. And that's why vulnerability is the new strong, because if we isolate and we think we have to figure it all out ourselves, we're going to be sitting in it a lot longer than when we surround ourselves with people and that can help us see the other side. And that's why Kevin's doing free coaching sessions for High Five, because we know people need that. Dorian, oh hey, Dorian said, letting a third of my staff off had me thinking like I let my team down, and it put me in a very emotional place, even though it was COVID-19. And while you guys were on one end of it, there is the other side of this, which is the survivor guilt. Why not me? And how do I take care of my people and all of that? And right now it's about COVID-19, and it's about creating as much viability so that when we're past this, we can still have a company, and all the companies that are going through this, so that we can keep moving forward. I know here at High Five, I mean, we all took pay cuts, And we won't be able to survive without that. I'm grateful for the lady on the bottom right. That would be you, Jen. Also, how she spreads that Care Bear rainbows. That was Nancy Casperson. Let's see.
Thank you. That is my sister.
Oh, this too shall pass. And I've heard a lot of people say that, and I believe that. And one of the things that I've said many times over the years is the universe conspires for our success. And I don't get to choose when I believe that and when I don't believe that. You know, I don't get to say that and then have a time like this come up and be like, no, this is like all against us. And this is where we get to dig in, pause, see what's really important, and be there for each other. And Lenny thanks you guys for your vulnerability, and just sends his love. He has a question. Being you have experienced this, what ways would you feel employers and those still working what can employers and those still working do to support their teammates who've been laid off? So any thoughts on things that employers and teammates that are still employed can do to support those that have been laid off?
My idea, you know, it's probably a company policy, depending on the company, not to reach out to the person for a day or two or ever, for a fear-based reason, or maybe it's a policy reason. But I know that if it definitely was more of a COVID thing and not a performance or other issue, that for myself, I'm only speaking for myself, I would love to hear from my peers, my supervisors, my coworkers, or anyone else speak into me, to speak, you know, if anything else, love, care, concern, to just know that they're still there, because on the receiving end of a layoff, to Rachel's point, those stories can overwhelm you. Mm-hmm. And whatever part that you played as the part of the company, and again, for me only, I think I would have benefited greatly, and I have benefited greatly from at least one or two of those people. It helped me get past some of those stories and things like that. So that's my offer, is reconsider or consider, if you have a policy in place, whether it's time bound or not, reach out as a friend, not an employer. And you know, we're all human, we're all people. And we all need something, you know, even the introverts, every once in a while, they got to get out of the cave, get some vitamin D. So if anything else, I would just say, as an employer, a company, reach out, even if it's just, you know, how are you doing?
I love that, James. Rachel?
I would totally echo what James is saying, but know that not everyone is going to receive that right away, immediately, right? I had a couple of folks that I wasn't ready to talk to immediately, and I just let them know that. But I did reach out to them after I went through the process and kind of grieved and all of my anger and all of that, and I thanked them for supporting me. And, you know, over the last week and a half, I've had multiple teammates reach out to me, which I'm grateful for, because it has really shown me that the friendships and relationships that I built within the organization were true, right? They were real, that I wasn't just pouring into others, they were pouring into me, and they really genuinely cared. One of the things that I've noticed, though, is when folks reach out to me, so for instance, I had proprietary, I had computer, and I had screens, and I had things that I needed to return to my organization. Anytime someone reached out to me, they apologized. They apologized. And that goes with that survivor guilt, right? It goes with the fact that, you know, I feel bad because I still have a job, even though I'm going through my own battle of a pay cut or whatever it may be. Less people, I'm now more lean, I have a lot more job responsibility. I just want to tell those folks that there's no need to apologize. This COVID-19 situation, no one could have fathomed how far this would have come. right? And we still don't know how far it's going. I know here in Texas, schools are canceled till May 4th. So I see these, shelter in place and things going a little bit longer, but there's no need to apologize. You were selected for a reason, for a skill set that maybe I didn't have, right? And I know you're mourning the relationship or the loss of a teammate or whatever it may be as well, but I guess what I'm saying is it is what it is in this situation, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm getting tongue-tied, but really truly blessed for the relationships that I built, and for those that have reached out and provided that support. It has made a difference. I just want them to realize that there's no need to apologize when they reach out. They're going through something on their own.
They are. I love that, Rachel. And just so you guys know, there's just like an outpouring of love. So you'll have to go back and read the comments on the Facebook. There's an outpouring of love for you. And I think that that's a perfect place to wrap it up for tonight. It's all about love. We're all in this together. We're all humans. We're all going to experience this in our own way. Honor everybody's journey and just show up for each other, and download the resource guide, and then join us tomorrow, because tomorrow what we're going to do is going to be a little bit more practical tips, but things that we can have done and can do to maximize our money, because there are ways to stretch it right now. And it's important, because one of the things that gives us anxiety, right, is are we going to be able to make our money stretched for what we need? And if we can just take action on some things, it really, really helps. So thank you guys for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow, 4:30, same Joy channel. And to everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We are here to serve and support you, always on your team. And remember, it's not about choosing joy when it's easy. It's about choosing joy when it's not easy. And this is our time to shine. So I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Go.